first time that I came across a cronut was on an episode of Phineas and Ferb.
The latest culinary breakthrough, the cronut. The cronut is simply a croissant and a donut bonded together by some kind of genetics.
I think I never really believed that it was a real treat. It makes sense when you think about it, that a croissant donut hybrid, that is a cartoon. That's the most cartoony thing that you can think of. And I think because of that, because I never took it seriously, there was a bit of media attention around it, but I just assumed that everybody else was seeing it from Phineas and Ferb. I wanted to taste it, but that was me being a kid who wanted to taste a cartoon dessert. That was until I got to New York, and I was watching videos, as I do, about things to do in New York and places to go, and obviously treats and foods to enjoy. And the cronut kept re-emerging, and so I thought, well, at some point we must go and find this. And so I did some research. I found out that there were 2 potential locations. We decided on a day that we were gonna go cronut hunting. At this point, to me, this was a cartoon dessert that my childhood self had wanted to try but never believed was real. So I was actually quite excited for this particular day.
You
excited for this?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm excited.
I'm not too sure anymore, yeah, now that I'm here. But it's fine, we'll see.
The cronut was invented by Dominic Ansel after someone pointed out to him that his menu at his bakery didn't have any kind of donut dessert. Now, having grown up around flaky croissants rather than stodgy donuts, Dominic Ansel went to work making a dessert which pulled from his heritage in Paris and also from the mother city of his bakeries being New York City. But who is Dominic Ansel and how did he come to invent the cronut? Dominic is a French pastry chef. He owns 2 bakeries, as I've alluded, in New York City, and he's probably most known for inventing the cronut. Dominic had an early life in Paris, and post high school he would work as an apprentice at one of the many local kitchens or restaurants in Paris. He has a history of precision pastry making and has worked as executive pastry chef at Daniel, a 2 Michelin star French restaurant in New York City. It was during his time in New York City where he eventually opened up his own bakery in Soho and then came to invent the cronut in 2013. This led him to a 3-month-long journey with over 10 iterations on a recipe to come up with a croissant and donut hybrid mashed together and turned into something bigger than the sum of its parts. The cronut takes 3 days to make, which is no wonder there's always a line outside his bakery, and indeed we had to wait in the line too.
We're here now and there is definitely a line of people standing outside. One world. One world.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't a very long line, but it was definitely still a line. We probably waited like 15 minutes. We did arrive probably after the morning rush, and we were kind of worried that we wouldn't end up getting our own cronuts.
Hopefully we get the cronuts.
Hopefully. It'd be funny if we stood here in line, seeing other people eat them over there on the bench and not get any ourselves.
There was a spark of hope when we saw, while we were waiting in line, some people sitting outside on the bench enjoying their pumpkin flavored croissant. By the way, that is something else that he does. He doesn't reproduce the same flavor every month, but he makes a new flavor for each month. So there's always a reason to come back on a monthly basis. So I want to just share the journey of the creation of a croissant donut, a cronut. I promise I can say this word properly when I'm not staring into a camera. It takes 3 days, as I said. And first, the pastry chefs will prepare a ganache. They'll leave that over a day. They'll also prepare the cronut dough and leave that over a day. Then there's the butter. My gosh, I had no idea that croissants had so much butter in them. They literally make a slab of butter. They put it on the dough and they fold the dough over and they start folding and folding and folding, and that's what creates all those flaky layers in a croissant. So that process has to happen. And when you're working with butter, so that it doesn't melt, you have to kind of leave it to rest. Let it get cold again, work with it a bit, leave it to rest. You don't want the butter to be runny. You want the butter to kind of be in there but not to emulsify with the dough. And then finally, after all those steps, they cut out the dough on the day that you're supposed to eat the cronut. They cut out all the donut chips and then they fry it at 175 degrees Celsius. Then they put together the treat. They inject some of that ganache into the inside, and then they also cover it with an icing of some sort with a glaze on top. Like I said, ours was the pumpkin version of that.
Do you see them like catalog? Do you like bag right here? I don't need the side, I just need the bag, please. It's a panini for my baby. This one was a pumpkin.
And now, let's enjoy.
Good.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is the part where Vanya says, oh my god.
Wait for it. Just
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Please, come on. I want him to do it.
I haven't.
Okay, Vanya, we need your reaction.
Okay, here you go.
There he goes. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, now he's switching it up.
This was honestly the best pastry that I have ever had. Like, hands down, the best. It was crunchy but flaky, and the pumpkin flavor wasn't really, it didn't taste like a pumpkin, I would say. It was just really unctuous. It was gooey inside, and so it was texture on texture. It wasn't as firm as a donut, but it also wasn't as flaky as a croissant. It was just a beautiful textured thing. It had a really good flavor. Honestly, the pumpkin might not even have been really pumpkin, but it really tasted good. I don't care what flavor there was. I don't care if he wants to call it blueberry, but it tasted like that. It was amazing. Highly recommend. We obviously had other desserts, not just the cronuts, although that was definitely the main star of the show. The other desserts were, I would say, equally as good, and I'll quickly rank them out for you. For me, it would be the cronut first. I have to say, that was the best thing that I ate that day, and maybe I was biased because I was really looking forward to it, but that was the best. Then came this grenadilla dessert that Vino picked out. That was so good, so good. For him, he preferred that over the cronut, but I understand some people don't like as much sugar as you would find in a cronut. It's quite a sweet dessert. As a sugar lover myself, I really enjoyed it. Then we had a cheesecake of some sort. It had a weird egg with like gelatin around it. Didn't enjoy that part. The rest of the cheesecake was unctuous. And then finally, the chocolate cake. I was a little bit disappointed that for me the chocolate cake didn't rank as high, and that's because usually I am a chocolate lover, but with this one, I guess the cocoa-ness of the chocolate was just a bit too much. I think Vano preferred that a lot, and again, it's one of those things. If you're not a lover of sugar, then yeah, you would probably prefer the chocolate cake over... No, actually, the cheesecake wasn't very sugary. It would still come in third or second for you if you didn't enjoy the cronut as much. The rest of everybody else, my wife and Bowie, they really enjoyed the cronut. They probably agreed with our ranking. The last thing is, I didn't get to taste this, but Bowie bought the cookie cookie shot, I think is what they call it. It's a cookie dough in the shape of a shot glass with chocolate coating the inside of it, and then they pour milk for you, and it's one of those things that you have to consume really quickly, otherwise it falls apart, which is exactly what happened to Maui's, and so that's why I don't really have any good shots of it. I'll try to find something from somebody else's video and give you guys that. But yeah, that was a fantastic sugar-filled morning. There's more to this day. There were some irises, some really expensive bags, a lot of peer pressure, a crazy park on stilts, great burgers at a steakhouse, and finally we discovered Salt Bay. So tune in for next week's episode, and I will see you again